The resistance of temptation. A hero that is pure of heart. Deep themes to dive into for Shazam! Welcome to Durbania. I'm Durbin, and this is my theological analysis for Shazam. As this movie just came out, I'm letting you know, diving into this theological analysis, there will be spoilers ahead. I thoroughly enjoyed this movie. I cannot wait to dive deeper into it. DC, you are doing awesome. I feel like they're starting to find their groove, and it's starting to work. So I'm excited to dive into this movie.
Say my name so my powers may flow through you.
But I don't know your name, sir.
Shazam.
Wait, for real?
It's interesting when you dive into this movie and you have Mark Strong's character, Dr. Thaddeus Sivana. I hope I've said his last name right, but you have Dr. Thaddeus and you have Billy Batson. Here's what these two characters have in common. Both of them are seeking the love, acceptance, and approval of their parent. They need that love. They crave it, and they're spending their lives hunting for it and searching it down. And in some ways, that search has put some blinders on their eyes to the world that is actually around them. So you have Dr. Thaddeus as a child sitting in the back seat of the car, and you have Lionel Luthor. I love the fact that the guy who played Lionel Luthor on Smallville
He's Luther, I don't think...
No!
I don't want to hear it.
is in this movie. It is so cool, but he is Dr. Thaddeus' father. And you can just definitely tell this dude does not love his youngest son the way he loves his oldest son. And so right there, Mark Strong's character is filled with envy. He wants the love, he wants the acceptance that his father has for his older brother, and try as he might, he can't seem to impress his father or gain his father's love. And then something miraculous happens. He gets pulled into another dimension where he meets Shazam, the wizard, giving him the opportunity to bear his name and carry his power into our world. An interesting concept that is introduced here is the fact that you have this wizard who is full of good power, and he wants that good power brought into our world. The way it's going to happen is he gets that champion who is pure of heart, who will submit to that power and carry that power, and be a bridge. So when that hero lets that power in, that hero becomes the bridge so that that power can leave that dimension and come into our world and impact it. Then you got the 7 deadly sins, these demons encased in their statues, trapped in this dimension. They can't leave this dimension unless a human willingly submits to them and allows them to possess them. Then that person could be a bridge by which those demons could leave that dimension and come and actually influence and impact our world. But they got to have that bridge. Now you have the wizard offering him a tremendous power. But that tremendous power is a life-changing power. It confronts the heart. It changes the heart because it's good, and good actually cares for him. But the demons are calling for something different. See, Thaddeus, so consumed with envy, really just cares about using power to impress his father. Not for the good of the world, not for the good even of his own heart. He wants to impress his father. And so when the demons call out to him, they're striking that chord. Whereas this good power might be a little bit more difficult because it invites change. It invites a kind of confrontation between the good and evil and the self. Well, now the evil is just calling out and saying, why confront? Let's just take our power and impress your dad. He's already made the choice to allow envy to consume him. That's what he yields to, and the 7 deadly sins have found their bridge. Not right away. He gets kicked out of there, but he spends the rest of his life. And at any moment, he could have changed. At any moment, he could have renounced the way he was living, and he could have changed things up. But he never did. He chose to allow envy to consume him. He finds a way back into this dimension and becomes the bridge for the 7 deadly sins so that they could travel into our world. And the moment he becomes this bridge and he brings them into the world, he brings with him all the death and destruction that they really truly are. Starting with him going into that boardroom and all those demons coming out and destroying everybody in that boardroom, including his older brother. But he saves his father for last. See, this is how deadly envy is. Yes, this is truly a moment of vengeance. This is truly a moment of vindication for Mark Strong's character. He wanted to show forth his glory to his father and then have his father lie dead at his feet. That's the power of the demons that consumed him. Those demons didn't care anything for Thaddeus. Thaddeus was nothing more for them but a means to an end. Anything left in his soul, anything left was destroyed because he surrendered to that destruction. But then you have Billy Batson, again in that similar position as Mark Strong's character. He is desperately searching for love and acceptance. He got separated from his mother at that fair so long ago. She never returned for him, but he's just allowed himself to believe she didn't leave him. He's allowed himself to believe this, that the moment he finds her, she will cry, she will hug him, she will bring him home, and that love and that acceptance of his mother will finally complete him and fill every gap in his life. He has been searching for that for so long. He's allowed that search to consume him, and here he is breaking the law, running away from foster homes. He's allowed that search to corrupt his heart. So then what is this pure heart? Well, finally, something miraculous happens to Billy Batson. A foster mother and a foster father, knowing his record and knowing his sins, choose him. They choose to open their home to him. They choose to love him and bring him home with them. Finally, all that he'd been looking for all of his life was here in this home. But his expectations were in the wrong place. And then he gets called into that other dimension where he meets the wizard Shazam. So what is the pure heart? My gosh, what is so different about Billy Batson at this point than Mark Strong's character? The difference is, even though the 7 deadly sins weren't there to tempt Billy, he made a choice. He chose to bear the name of the wizard. He chose to bear the name of Shazam and let that power flow through him, and he chose to carry that power into our world. That's his choice. And in letting that happen, the cure began. Sometimes in our Christian walk, we think the moment we let Jesus in our heart, the cure is going to happen right here, right now, period. And we get disappointed by our own expectations, because when we let Jesus in, the cure begins. But we still have so much of ourselves and our flesh and these different things that we fight and battle and temptations. There is still so much of that to overcome. But the moment we let Jesus in, the cure begins. It starts here on the inside and slowly begins to work its way to the outside. And so Billy has let the cure begin in his life, but even then he's still got issues he's got to overcome, including Freddy. Freddy, who's become his best friend. Freddy, who's so excited that he has become this great big superhero. Suddenly we start to see, as the light shines, it kind of reveals some of the darkness. For instance, some of the selfishness in Freddy. Now he's friends with Shazam. So Shazam's gonna come to lunch, and he starts to use Shazam for his own purposes. Billy himself is starting to get full of himself. He's YouTube famous now. He can stand out there and shoot lightning, and people want to be around him. They want pictures with him. He's accepted. They throw money in a hat as he's shooting lightning. Oh, he can really find his mom now. Yeah, with all the money that he's getting, all this. Oh my gosh. So even he is starting to get a little bit full of it. And the acceptance he's finding in this power is starting to consume him a little bit. So even accepting this good name and even accepting this good power, there's still challenges to overcome in both their lives. But the point is, it's the cure. The cure had already begun in Billy's life, and what he needed to continue to do day by day was submit to the work of that cure that was going on. Finally, Billy confronts his greatest and worst nightmare. He finds his mother. And when he finds her, the greatest disappointment that he's ever had actually happens. His mother is almost indifferent at his appearance. He expected a hug and tears. I love you. I missed you. I tried to find you, but I couldn't. I was so scared. Please come home, Billy. Please come home. Instead, what he got was, I'm sorry. Looks like you're doing okay, but there's no room for you in my life. The thing that he'd been looking for all of his life disappointed him more than anything else. But when you watch the movie, you can see that he's visibly disappointed, but it's curious that he's not crushed. He has tears in his eyes, and he's upset, but he doesn't collapse in on himself like a dying star. No. In fact, he's able to even bear that disappointment. Why? Because the cure had begun in his life, and he realized in that moment that when his mom rejected him, He had a foster mother and father that accepted him. He had brothers and sisters in that home that considered him a brother. It was in that moment of that crushing disappointment that the greatest revelation and insight came to him. All that he had been searching for all of his life, he had already received, and he was already living in it. And when he woke up to that revelation, he woke up to the real hero that he was. So what is a pure heart? It's that heart that submits to the light. It's that heart that submits to the cure and allows that cure to have its good work in their lives. That's who Billy was. He submitted to that power and name of Shazam and became the Wizard's champion and let that power have its good work in his life. And it opened his eyes to the love that he had already had. In fact, it's more than the Wizard's power. He finally submitted himself to the love and acceptance that that family in that home had for him. And more than power, more than anything, love changed his heart and changed his life. But because he carried the Wizard's name and power, he passed that power on. Because of love and because of family, he didn't hoard power to himself. He shared it with his 6 brothers and sisters and created 6 new superheroes who fought together as a family. He passed the life onward and passed the name onward and brought new life to those that brought him new life. Sometimes we just get so disappointed and we're looking for this love and acceptance. What's amazing is Jesus brings that to us. At our worst, he knows our record. He knows it in full, and yet calls us his champion, and yet wants to call himself our Father and calls us his children and wants to bring us into a home where we are loved and accepted unconditionally so that we could bear his name and be his champion and spread his love to the world, yes, but also so that we can be healed and whole from the inside out. And it's hard. It's easy to give into the 7 deadly sins. It's easy to give into envy. It's easy to give into lust. It's easy to give into greed. Why? They don't require change. They don't require a submission to a cure that works in the heart and exposes some of the darkness to bring in new light and freedom and life. That is the major difference. And to me, when I watch this movie, that's what I see in the pure of heart. Never once could Mark Strong be grateful. Never once could he let love in his heart. Billy Batson let love into his life and allowed the revelation to surface that what he had been seeking for was there with him all along. It wasn't what he expected, but it was there, and he let it change his life, and he let it fill his heart. So when you watch Shazam, what do you see in this movie? Let's talk about that in the comments. So while you're there, hit the subscribe button to become a Durbanian, hit the bell by the subscribe button so you're notified for my next movie review, ranking video, theological analysis, or anything else I do here. I'm Durbin. Thanks for checking out Durbania.